as individuals or as a country. Money goes round, it goes up and down. But have you ever wondered what business is all about? And have you ever wondered how you can stand out in your business?
Today FM has got you covered every Wednesday between the hours of 1 p.m. to 2 p.m.
Learn all you need from professionals on how the country runs its business affairs and how you can be an outstanding entrepreneur and grow your business.
Business Today.
A person who knows how to read and does not read is no different from a person who does not know how to read at all.
Books are the mirrors of the soul, a powerful tool for change, a means to an end. That end is a peaceful society which grooms enlightened and empowered individuals. So, make literature your utopia.
This same issue that we see in this book is still prevalent in our society today. Like up to today, some parents, some people
will still say you can't marry from this tribe. You shouldn't marry from this tribe.
God forbid, I can't marry.
Yeah. Join us in book review every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Let's help you find your utopia.
Hello, join us Fridays 7:30 a.m. on Our Top Picks, and together we'll review the big national stories of the week, all in 30 minutes. It promises so much fun. Our Top Picks, Fridays 7:30 a.m. Don't miss it.
Nothing like the good old classic music and reminding the new school of where it all started from. Get the best of classic old school music back to back.
Nostalgia Drive
from 10:30 p.m. to 11 p.m.
every Saturday
on Today95.1 FM.
Hear the bomb. 95.1 FM.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's take you into a realm, another dimension, a reality of higher intelligence, discovery, and quantum possibilities. Tune in every Monday, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. on this station and be part of this journey as we address issues that relate to you and your tech life. It is Today's Tech Show on your premium talk, news and sports station. Today, 95.1 FM.
Red is passion. Pink is for unconditional love. Blue is for loyalty. While black is secretive and mysterious.
Baby, tonight's the night.
Let's talk about love. The passion, the bliss, the betrayal, and everything in between. On Lovey Dovey, Mondays to Thursdays from 11 p.m. beneath the night sky with the Amaka Felix on Today 95.1 FM.
Ready to turn up the volume and dive into the heartbeat of entertainment, from the hottest celebrity gist to trending music, movie buzz, viral moments, and behind-the-scenes drama. This is where the fun never stops. Tuning to Entertainment Today, only on Today 95.1 FM, Voice of the People, your station for pure entertainment. Weekdays, 11:30 a.m. Entertainment Today, where your favorite stars and stories come alive.
Have you
ever been in a situation where you had to pay a fine for an indictment? Then you later found out that there was an already established law to protect you from that penalty. Have you ever been denied a position because of your gender or disability? Have you ever been discriminated, treated unfairly, assaulted or cheated by your landlord, employer, tax collectors, bank, family, business partners, and the police? What if the breach between you and justice is just the right knowledge? I'm sure you've heard that knowledge is power. Join us every Saturday, 10 to 10:30 a.m. on Today 95.1 FM for the program The Law Today, to get acquainted with your legal rights and beneficial interests as a citizen of Nigeria. The Law Today, 10 to 10:30 a.m. every Saturday, is brought to you by Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt.
Wetin dey happen like? They say wahala need na this one wahala be like bicycle. They just dey quick.
Wetin dey happen? Wetin dey happen? Now for Today 95.1 FM, 5 p.m. Monday to Friday, Bomkwem. Now here you go here. Wetin dey happen for Niger and Obodo the world. Now that time where we dey bring you ogbonge story them, we go shock you. You go wonder say na person do like this. Now so we dey bring am come give you acid the hot.
Now where we dey find way to sweep this country? Don't run. You go stay blood. You dey japa. You say this one. No worry. When time I reach, I'll say I want to take. Make I see where they go.
Homeland is homeland.
Me, I go open gate for them. I no go be get man at that time for airport.
Wetin dey happen? Make you no miss Mazi Ike God Ike Machuku and MC Kuro for Wetin dey happen. You go enjoy yourself. No forget to say woman dey chop our recharge card woto. I don dey tell una say this place na education center. As you sit down here with us from Monday to Friday, you go enjoy Wetin dey happen. Wetin dey happen? Make you no miss am at all.
Wake up to today's quest, where breakfast on the radio is full course. We start with some motivation to ignite the spark in you for a great day. Then a full interactive sports show on Sport Attack 6:30 a.m. Unbeatable and concise news report on the world news at 7 a.m. and our newspaper review segment now 7:30 a.m. Oh yes, 7:30 a.m. The scoops and the commentaries of my esteemed panelists. Today's quest, 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt. Miss it, you miss out.
Get ready to feel the rhythm, the groove, and the true vibes of Africa. This is not just music. This is high life. From the legends to the latest, we're bringing you the best of palm wine grooves, jazzy horns, and soul-stirring melodies. There was a sound that told our stories, a rhythm that made our fathers dance and our mothers smile. Welcome to The Thrill, a musical journey through time where legends live on and new stars shine. Join us from Mondays to Thursdays, 9 p.m. on Today 95.1 FM for the ultimate high life musical show. Don't just listen, feel the music. High life lives here.
African style. African style. African
style. Live your truth. Express your love. Share your enthusiasm. Take actions towards your dreams. Talk your talk. And walk your walk.
It was years ago. There's a statute of limitation on this stuff.
Make today worth remembering as we discuss issues as it affects Nigeria moving forward. Talk that talk.
Weekdays, 2 p.m.
Exclusively on Today 95.1 FM Port Harcourt. Voice of the people.
It all begins with breaking news.
Now make no mistake, this is a difficult mission. And it will remain difficult for some time.
And it keeps trending. Events, issues, personalities, all struggling to gain attention. But in the race with deadlines, the intrigues Power play, undercurrents are often missed or underreported.
Insecurity here is basically a product of poverty.
But not anymore.
As the platform on radio steps in to fill the missing links on events, issues, and personalities in the news.
I'm not afraid of anybody. Yeah!
The platform on radio serves only the hottest topics and trending issues. Only on Today 95.1 FM.
95.1 FM.
Port Harcourt.
Weekdays, 4 p.m.
Get on the platform on radio and be served.
Red is passion. Pink is for unconditional love. Blue is for loyalty. While black is secretive and mysterious.
Baby, tonight's the night.
Let's talk about love. The passion, the bliss, the betrayal, and everything in between. On Lovey Dovey. Mondays to Thursdays from 11 p.m. Beneath the Night Sky with the Amaka Felix on Today 95.1 FM.
Live from the Garden City of Port Harcourt, Nigeria. This is Today 95.1 FM. Nigeria. This is Today 95.1 FM.
Education never ends, and we believe it starts even way earlier than most of us think. On Andre Gorgie, every Tuesday, 1 to 2 p.m., we unravel these various building blocks and its challenges that make you and I better versions of ourselves. Andre Gorgie on Today 95.1 FM. Andre Gorgie on Today 95.1 FM.
Unleash the power of the airwaves with the ultimate radio experience. Tune in to Today 95.1 FM, the voice of the people. Don't just listen, immerse yourself.
That is 100% true.
The station with the...
As the voice of the people, we make sure that no one misses out. On Today 95.1 FM, there's something for everyone.
Our tech show, because tech is new money. Our kids show, because we love the little ones.
Our Gospelration, because it's the moment of truth. Our High Life show, because High Life is vintage.
Our sports show with the adrenaline. Our midnight show, because we care about your love life.
Our Nostalgia Drive, because old is gold. Our show for young people, because Gen Z code is on.
Our Pigeon Bit, because na Naija we dey. Our book review, because books are a mirror. Our big stories, because big things only.
Our health shows with seasoned health experts, because we care that you're healthy. Our eyewitness report, because we want to hear from you. Our reggae show, because Rastafari.
One love.
What's a successful business without sales? And what is sales without an audience? Well, do you know that you can reach 8 million listeners across 6 states in 2 geopolitical zones all at once? How? With Today 95.1 FM, you can get millions of people to know about your business. And what does that mean to you? More sales. Call 081 389 2850 now for more information.
City of Port Harcourt, Nigeria. This is Today 95.1 FM. Nigeria. This is Today 95.1 FM.
This is Today 95.1 FM Pawtucket, Voice of the People. It is time again for a rundown of the foreign news stories that made the headlines on the world today. I am Amaka Felix. Good evening. We begin with the headlines. Sudanese authorities indict leader of Rapid Support Forces for mass atrocities. 5 soldiers reportedly shot at Army's Fort Stewart in Georgia. Iran executes man of spying for Israel. Details in a moment. Sudanese authorities have indicted Mohammed Hamdan Dagolo, leader of the Rapid Support Forces, and his brother Abdel Rahim Dagolo in absentia on charges including the killing of Darfur's governor and genocide linked to mass ethnic violence in the region. The charges stem from the abduction and killing of West Darfur Governor Khamis Abakar in June 2023, whose dismembered body was circulated online, escalating domestic and international outrage. Alongside them, 14 RSF members were implicated in the case. This indictment comes as the United States formally declared that the RSF has committed genocide, citing systematic ethnic killings and sexual violence against groups such as the Masalit in Darfur. High-ranking sanctions were imposed on Hemedeti and 2 of his brothers, including Abdel Rahim, along with several RSF-linked companies. Medical charity in South Sudan has disclosed that it is suspending work in the central equatorial region over attacks on its staff. The decision followed the kidnapping of the charity's staff member. The organization said the incident occurred during an evacuation of MSF staff from Morobo to Yei. An evacuation convoy was also intercepted by gunmen who ordered the team leader out before pulling him into the thickets. The MSF's head of mission in South Sudan described the abduction as a targeted attack on humanitarian workers. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has issued a scathing condemnation of the ongoing war in Gaza, calling it a war of starvation, genocide, and liquidation of the Palestinians. He appealed to European leaders and US President Donald Trump to urgently act and push for a ceasefire, stressing the need to protect civilians and allow immediate delivery of humanitarian aid. Responding to accusations that Egypt is complicit in the blockade of Gaza, el-Sisi strongly denied the claims. He added that over 5,000 aid trucks are currently stalled on Egypt's side of the Rafah crossing, with Israeli forces blocking entry on the Gaza side. Away from Africa to the rest of the world, the United States State Department is proposing a 15 million naira bond for a $15 million bond for applicants of business and tourist visas. The department, in a statement, announced plans to start a 12-month pilot program where people from countries deemed to have high overstay rates and deficient internal document security controls could be required to post bonds when they apply for a visa. The proposal comes as the Trump administration tightens requirements for visa applicants. The State Department also announced that many visa renewal applicants would have to submit to an additional in-person interview, something that was not required in the past. United States Special Envoy Steve Witkoff has held constructive talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Witkoff met Putin for about 3 hours in an attempt to seek a breakthrough in the more than 3-year war that began with Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Kremlin foreign policy aide Yuri Ushakov said the two sides had exchanged signals on the Ukraine issue and discussed the possibility of developing strategic cooperation between Moscow and Washington, but declined to give more details until Witkoff had reported back to President Trump. You may wish to know that the White House has not outlined specific actions it plans to take, but Trump had previously threatened to impose secondary tariffs against Russia's trade partners such as India and China. The U.S. Department of Justice says 2 Chinese nationals have been arrested and charged with illegally shipping millions of dollars worth of powerful AI chips to China. The DOJ alleged that over the last 3 years, ALX Solutions, a company it said was run by Chuan Geng and Shi Wei Yang, exported the chips from the U.S. to China without the required licenses. Court documents seen by newsmen shows that the shipments included NVIDIA's 800 graphics processing units, which have become a key focus of U.S. export controls aimed at stopping China purchasing the cutting-edge technology. In response, the NVIDIA spokesperson said they sell their products to well-known partners who help to ensure that all sales comply with U.S. export control rules, dismissing all allegations of illegal shipping. A silent prayer was held in Japan today as it marked 80 years since the United States dropped an atomic bomb on the city of Hiroshima. Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba attended the ceremony along with officials from around the world and the city's mayor Kazumi Matsui. Matsui warned of a global accelerating trend toward military buildup and the idea that nuclear weapons are essential for national defense, saying this was a flagrant disregard of the lessons the international community should have learned from the tragedies of history. World War II ended with Japan's surrender after the dropping of the bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The bombs killed more than 200,000 people, some from the immediate blast and others from radiation sickness and burns. The legacy of the weapons continues to haunt survivors today. An elderly woman has died and another person is missing after a massive wildfire swept through parts of southern France, destroying homes and forcing thousands to flee. Authorities said the woman died in her home, while 7 firefighters have also been treated for smoke inhalation and 1 person is still missing. 2 people are in the hospital, one of whom is in a critical condition. The blaze broke out yesterday and has already burned more than 13,000 hectares, an area larger than Paris, making it the largest wildfire in France this year. More than 1,800 firefighters, supported by 500 vehicles, were deployed to the area. 5 soldiers have been shot at the Army's Fort Stewart in Georgia. The base in a social media post said parts of Fort Stewart in southeast Georgia were locked down after an active shooter was reported on the sprawling army post. The post on Fort Stewart's Facebook page told all personnel in the locked down area to stay inside, close and lock all windows and doors. Fort Stewart is the largest army post east of the Mississippi River, with thousands of soldiers assigned to the Army's 3rd Infantry Division and family members. Iran has executed a man accused of spying for Israel. Rosby Vadi allegedly passed on information about a nuclear scientist killed in Israel's drone attacks on the Islamic Republic. He was executed earlier today and had worked in one of Iran's important and sensitive organizations. Executions of Iranians convicted of spying for Israel have significantly increased this year, with at least 8 death sentences carried out in recent months. 4 persons have died and dozens reportedly missing after flash floods and landslides swept through parts of India's northern Himalayan state of Uttarakhand. Rescue workers have continued to battle heavy rain and blocked roads. The flood struck Darali, a village in Uttarkashi district, and the popular stop on the way to the Hindu pilgrimage town of Gangotri, after a sudden surge of muddy water mixed with debris engulfed the valley. The flooding was triggered by intense monsoon rains, which continued to lash the region and complicating rescue efforts. Among the missing are at least 8 soldiers from a nearby army base, with more than 190 people have been rescued. That story from India concludes tonight's edition of The World Today, as produced by Uloma Wosu of the News Department. Before we go, here is a summary of the stories that made the headlines. We told you that Sudanese authorities have indicted leader of the Rapid Support Forces and his brother on charges of mass ethnic violence in the region. You heard that 5 soldiers have been shot at the Army's 4th Stuart in Georgia. And finally, we told you that Iran has executed a man accused of spying for Israel. Till same time tomorrow, to have a lovely evening, and thank you for listening. Today 95.1 FM, today's quest. Today 95.1 FM, today's hustle. Today 95.1 FM, today's connect. Today 95.1 FM, voice of the people.
Red is passion. Pink is for unconditional love. Blue is for loyalty. While black is secretive and mysterious.
Baby,
let's talk about love. The passion, the bliss, the betrayal, and everything in between. On Lovey Dovey, Mondays to Thursdays from 11 p.m. beneath the night sky with the Amaka Felix on Today 95.1 FM.
BBC World Service, I'm Charles Gitonga in Nairobi with Focus on Africa. Rwanda says it has reached a deal with the US to accept 250 migrants. Why does the government seem always willing to receive deported individuals?
President Paul Kagame and the Rwandan government, they like to show they can help. It's sort of part of the Rwanda brand. One official told me, we always come up with creative solutions for migration, and it seems, this is a solution that the West wants.
A report finds some cancer drugs in Malawi, Kenya, Cameroon and Ethiopia are fake.
What we found was shocking because in the samples that we collected across these 4 countries, 1 in every 6 samples was substandard or falsified.
And why camel milk is becoming popular in Eastern Africa. That's all on the BBC tonight in Focus. First, the news.
BBC World News, I'm Tom Dewsbury. Hello. The White House has announced a further 25% US tariff on goods imported from India because of its purchases of Russian oil. The executive order came after President Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff held a 3-hour meeting with President Putin in Moscow before a Friday deadline for Russia to agree a ceasefire in Ukraine. Noria Iqbal reports from Washington.
The new tariff by the president is among the highest on all of the US's long-standing allies and trading partners. Donald Trump has accused India of fueling what he describes as a Russia war machine by purchasing cheap oil and demanded that Prime Minister Modi pick a side. But India said it only began importing from Russia due to traditional supplies being diverted to Europe after the war began in Ukraine, a move it says was also actively encouraged by the US at the time. This pits Mr. Trump and Mr. Modi, 2 nationalist leaders who were on good terms, increasingly against each other. And it comes as the US's deadline for Moscow to agree a ceasefire in Ukraine looms.
4 aid trucks have overturned onto crowds of desperate Palestinians in Gaza. Local sources say at least 20 people were killed. The UN warns that starvations continue to rise despite Israel's easing of restrictions on aid. From Jerusalem, Yolan Nell reports.
Doctors at a hospital in central Gaza say they're struggling to deal with the number of casualties brought in since last night. A local transport association said 26 lorries were carrying goods for Gazan merchants after Israel agreed to allow private imports for the first time in months. Crowds of desperate people and local gangs appear to have surrounded the convoy as it travelled on a badly damaged road, with one report saying that a rocket-propelled grenade was fired.
The Italian government's approved a project to build the world's longest suspension bridge linking Sicily to the mainland. The project, set to cost more than $15 billion, will include 2 railway lines in the middle and 3 lanes of traffic on either side. From Rome, here's Sofia Betitza.
This project has been 50 years in the making. The bridge will span 3.3 kilometers, include a metro line, and is designed to withstand strong winds and earthquakes. Under pressure from Donald Trump to increase defense spending, Italy classifies it as defense investment because Sicily hosts a NATO base. The government says it will create thousands of jobs in the impoverished south, but critics say it's the greatest waste of public money ever seen in Italy.
The medical charity MSF says conditions for nearly 400,000 refugees in Ethiopia's Gambela region are rapidly deteriorating due to significant aid cuts from key donors, including the US. It says most nutrition services have been suspended, leaving around 80,000 mostly South Sudanese young children at risk of life-threatening hunger. World news from the BBC. The White House says Apple's promised an additional $100 billion of investment in the United States. The tech giant's already pledged to invest $500 billion over the next 4 years. The formal announcement will be made at an event today with President Trump. He's been pressing US firms to move more of their manufacturing to America. The Indian Army says it's using sniffer dogs, drones and heavy machinery to search for the dead and scores of missing after flash flooding in the northern state of Uttarakhand. Military helicopters are rescuing the stranded and delivering aid. A prominent Georgian media manager has been sentenced to 2 years in jail for slapping a policeman during anti-government protests earlier this year. Mzia Amaglobeli says she was being humiliated and stamped on. Rehan Dimitri reports.
Dozens of supporters of Mzia Amaglobeli have been marching in Batumi in protest against a 2-year sentence given by a judge for slapping a police officer in January. In her closing speech last week, Amaglobeli described the circumstances of the incident, being humiliated, dragged and stamped on, which led to her action. Rights groups have described Amaglobeli, who has been in pre-trial arrest since January, as a prisoner of conscience. Since the beginning of the political crisis in the country last November, sparked by the government's pivot away from Europe, hundreds of pro-EU protesters have been assaulted by police and members of the security services.
The authorities in Ghana say they've raided the home of the popular musician Shatta Wale following a request from the United States and seized a luxury car allegedly bought with the proceeds of an online scam. The vehicle's allegedly linked to another Ghanaian who's serving a 7-year prison sentence in the US for fraud. Shatta Wale denies knowledge of or connection with the jailed Ghanaian. BBC World News.
Hello, I'm Charles Gitonga and here is what's coming up for you on this edition of Focus on Africa. We hear about the deal between Rwanda and the US in which Kigali will accept migrants from Washington. What's in it for the East African country? Also, 1 in 6 cancer medicines in Ethiopia, Kenya, Malawi and Cameroon are defective. That's according to a new report. And camel milk, why it's so common in Somalia and why it may be quickly gaining international attention.
It's sweet, it has somewhat earthy flavor. I cannot put into words deeply because I'm a daily consumer. Honestly, how much camel milk I drink daily depends on how much I can get and where I am. But if I had to choose, I would take camel milk over almost everything, even food. It has just this amazing taste and energy that really sticks with you.
It's Wednesday, August 6th. First, we go to Rwanda. Rwanda and the United States are said to have signed a deal under which Kigali will accept hundreds of migrants deported by the US. A spokesperson for the Rwandan government Yolande Makolo, said Rwanda had already agreed with the United States to accept up to 250 migrants. Her comments came after the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, said last month that Washington was actively searching for countries that would take in, quote, some of the most despicable human beings, end of quote. Previously, the UK had also agreed a similar deal with Rwanda and promised it over $10 billion. But the deal faced several legal challenges, with the UK Supreme Court ruling it illegal, and it was abandoned after Sir Keir Starmer's Labour government took office last July. We'll hear from the BBC's Barbara Plett-Asher, who has been following developments in a moment. But first, let's hear from Dr. Hassan Kanenje, a Horn of Africa expert based in Nairobi, on what the potential impact might be.
At regional and continental levels, the recent US-Rwanda migrant deal carries a number of risks. One, it risks turning the continent into a dumping ground for Western undesirables or those who are considered politically inconvenient. Second, it makes the continent complicit in the violation of international principle of non-refoulement, which is a violation of international law. And thirdly, it risks provoking angst among the African publics, as well as xenophobia, especially in the light of the perceived preferential treatment by the immigrants who will be coming from Europe. And so these are fundamental, I think, aspects that the continent needs to be careful about.
That's Dr. Hassan Kanenje with this analysis. Now to Barbara, what do we know so far?
What we know at the moment is that Rwanda has agreed to take in up to 250 migrants and that Kigali can vet them first. We know they would be resettled in Rwanda and they'd be given help to begin their lives there, like work training, healthcare, accommodation. This is what the government spokesperson has said, and she said that more details will be given when they've been worked out. But an unnamed Rwandan official has told the Reuters news agency a few more details. So this official has said that Rwanda will be paid by the U.S. in the form of a grant, didn't say how much money. The agreement could be extended beyond 250 people by mutual consent, that those deported to Rwanda don't have to stay in the country and could leave any time, and, importantly, that criminals will not be accepted. At least not any criminals whose prison terms are incomplete. So in other words, there's no agreement for any migrants to serve out a U.S. prison sentence in Rwanda.
So how does this one then compare with that other deal that Rwanda had agreed with the UK?
It's quite similar, actually. So the UK deal, of course, was this plan of the previous Conservative government to deport asylum seekers who arrived in these small boats across the Channel. The idea then was for them to resettle the migrants in Rwanda, although they could leave if they wanted to and were able to. Rwanda prepared a hostel to receive them. We visited it several times. There were facilities on site to process cases. At one point, the then UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak talked about regular flights of migrants without putting a limit on it. But there were definitely questions about whether Rwanda could absorb a lot of new people because, of course, it's a small country. Its own citizens struggle to get jobs. In fact, internal opposition to the plan was around that, whether this was a possible threat to jobs. There was also, of course, this financial incentive. The UK committed to hundreds of millions of dollars of development funding over 5 years and actually paid out about $300 million of that. But no migrants, as you know, were ever deported to Rwanda because the plan got delayed by legal challenges in the UK, and then it was scrapped when the Conservative government lost the election.
So one will hear this and probably wonder why Rwanda keeps saying yes to these deals.
Well, all along the government has said that the country wants to give migrants with problems another chance because of its own history. I'd say more generally, President Paul Kagame and the Rwandan government, they like to show they can help. It's sort of part of the Rwanda brand, you know, we're a can-do nation. One official told me, we always come up with creative solutions for migration, and it seems, you know, this is a solution that the West wants. Independent analysts have said that this brand is also a way to make themselves useful to Western allies, and that it gives Rwanda diplomatic leverage to deflect criticism of its human rights record. For example, there are widespread reports that it crushes political dissent. Its policies in the region, there are widespread allegations that it backs M23 rebels in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which it denies. But I think in this particular case, it had a ready-made solution, didn't it, because of its preparation for the UK deal.
So the Trump administration has an aggressive policy on how to deport illegal immigrants to third countries. What other African countries are involved at this point? 2
so far, South Sudan and Eswatini. So those arrangements are quite different, though. because they've specifically agreed to accept convicted criminals, 8 of them in the case of South Sudan and 5 in the case of Eswatini. U.S. officials, in fact, have made a point of stressing they were getting rid of so-called despicable people. That's a quote. In the case of Eswatini, they said that home countries had refused to take these convicts back because their crimes were so barbaric. Again, that's a quote. Although I think that there are questions about whether all of these countries were indeed contacted and did indeed refuse. As you can imagine, in Eswatini, there was a backlash. The government tried to reassure people there wasn't a security threat, that the deportees would be kept in correctional facilities. In South Sudan, the government said the deportees were being kept in a civilians facility, but they were being watched by police and the National Security Service.
So what's in it for these host countries then?
Very few details of these deportation deals have been made public, so we don't know whether there was any payment involved. What both South Sudan and Eswatini have said is they basically cited their strong ties with the U.S. They framed these deals as part of broader bilateral relations, engagements, cooperation, so on. They could be afraid, though, of retaliation if they refuse, such as higher tariffs or stricter visa rules. This is what analysts suggest.
Is this legal? What's happening here?
Well, that's a very important question. So what human rights experts say is that deporting migrants to a third country could violate international law under certain conditions. 1, if the third country is unsafe. Secondly, migrants must have a right to challenge their deportation to make the case that this could be bad for them. They could be harmed where they go. There's no evidence the U.S. gave these people a chance to challenge their deportations to South Sudan and Eswatini. And there is evidence these countries are unsafe, especially South Sudan, which has been on the brink of the civil war for the past months. The U.S. State Department, in fact, warns against traveling there because of crime, kidnapping, and armed conflict. These deportations were definitely challenged in U.S. courts. And in fact, the migrants who were already en route to South Sudan had to be rerouted to Djibouti while this whole court process played out. Yeah. And eventually the Supreme Court allowed things to go ahead.
The BBC's Barbara Plett-Asher. Next, we dive into a deeply concerning public health issue: the circulation of substandard and falsified cancer medications across parts of Africa. A new investigation published in the Lancet Global Health Journal reveals that nearly 1 in 6 cancer drugs tested in Ethiopia, Kenya, Malawi and Cameroon failed to meet quality standards, with some lacking the correct levels of active ingredients altogether. These findings raise serious questions about patient safety, drug regulation, and the broader pharmaceutical supply chain on the continent. To help us unpack the implications of this study and explore what can be done to strengthen drug oversight, I spoke to Dr. Yauba Saidu, a physician with expertise in vaccinology and drug development. He's also the country representative of the Clinton Health Access Initiative in Cameroon and was one of the researchers in this study. He began by telling me what prompted the investigation into this case.
Cancer is one of the fastest growing health threats in Africa, with estimates suggesting that each year we have over 1.1 million new cases, and also an increasing number of people are dying from cancers. In 2020, estimates suggested that over 700,000 people died from cancer, despite more patients receiving treatment across Africa. So this led us to ask the question, the quality of the treatment that these patients were receiving. We could only get complaints from the doctors and nurses who were treating these patients about their experience in patients on treatment deteriorate despite receiving the correct dose. And this made us to actually ask one basic but critical question: are the drugs doing more good than harm to these patients? And that is actually one of the core things that led us to conduct this research.
Did you find that some of the drugs may have been contributing to the mortality?
So we collected samples from 4 countries: Cameroon, Kenya, Malawi and Ethiopia. So these countries reflect diverse health systems and geographies in Africa. And we actually collected the data based on cancer burden, the availability of cancer drugs, and a partnership that we have with local institutions to support rigorous sampling and testing. What we found was actually somehow shocking, because in the samples that we collected across these 4 countries, 1 in every 6 samples was substandard or falsified.
So we will talk about why these 4 countries in the moment, but just what is the difference between substandard cancer drugs and falsified cancer medication?
So a substandard cancer medication is a medication that actually do not have the right quantity of the active pharmaceutical ingredient. There is usually a defined standard or reference that a medication can meet to pass a quality test. So if the medication does not meet that standard, it can be classified as a substandard medication. But a falsified medication is one that does not even have active ingredient at all.
Got it. So tell me why this investigation focused on these 4 specific countries: Ethiopia, Kenya, Malawi, and Cameroon.
The investigation actually focused on these 4 countries because when you look at them geographically, they reflect diverse health systems and geographies with different cultures, different healthcare systems, and so on. So the first primary reason was like the diversity of these countries, and then the second reason was like the high cancer burden in these countries, and the third was the certainty about the probability of sampling the anti-cancer medications that we were looking for. And then the last one was that we had like active collaboration partnership with local institutions in these countries that were willing to support us in the investigations.
There seems, according to this report, that there are no testing facilities, or they are not common in many African countries. So I just wanted to find out why that is the case, because that could be contributing as to why we have these high levels of medicines that do not seem to do the job.
Yes, exactly. What we tend to see in Africa is that many African countries do not have this regulatory capacity to actually run this type of tests. They don't have like the necessary equipment, partly because they're expensive, the personnel are not well trained. And as you rightly said, the lack of this regulatory capacity can actually contribute to the circulation or the failure to detect the circulation of fake or substandard and falsified medications in the continent.
And what's the source of these drugs, the ones that you found to have a problem?
The majority of these drugs actually come from manufacturers in India. So most of these manufacturers are actually manufacturers located outside Africa. But we also found drugs from manufacturers located in Europe and also America. I think many of these pharmaceutical companies have seen the findings, and they are reaching out to our lead investigator to ask some questions like how was the assessment done, what were the storage conditions, what were the expiry dates, and so on. We do not have a good response from the company.
Let's just look at the risks and the impact of these medicines to patients. If you could articulate for us, if you take a substandard medicine that does not have what you called enough active ingredient, what would happen to you, and what's the impact of this on a cancer patient?
It is clear if a patient takes a medication with a reduced amount of active ingredient, the likelihood that this patient is not going to respond is very high. So the cancer cells will continue to grow and the patient will continue to deteriorate, and which might eventually end into death. And then on the other hand, if the dose is excessive, like greater than 110%, then that increases the toxicity, which could lead to organ damage and also death. So I remember, for instance, a lady in Cameroon who had breast cancer and who has had a third round of chemotherapy. And despite having gone through 3 rounds of chemotherapy, the size of her breast kept on increasing, and today is really out of proportion with the wounds and all sort of complications.
Dr. Yauba Saidu, our team has reached out to the national drug regulatory authorities in all 4 countries, Ethiopia, Kenya, Malawi, and Cameroon, where the samples were collected for their comments on the findings. However, as of the time of this recording, we have not yet received a response. Somalia is seeing a quiet agricultural revolution centered around the humble camel. The animals, famously known as the sheep of the desert, have long been the backbone of Somalia's pastoralist culture, feeding families, transporting goods, and standing tall in local folklore. Now, Demand for camel's milk is growing in the country and elsewhere, buoyed by a wave of entrepreneurs within the country who see untapped potential in a resource steeped in tradition and culture. Abdi Shukri Haibi, a journalist with the BBC Somali service in Nairobi, grew up in the Somali region of Ethiopia. He is a regular consumer of camel's milk. I decided to invite him into the studio and discuss this growing industry. It was lovely to see him, but the meeting didn't quite go as planned. Take a listen. I was told that you will come to this interview with a bottle of milk, but I just see your laptop. What happened?
Camel milk, they usually come a certain time of the day. So I came here early today. So that's one of the reasons that I don't have the bottle of the milk. Most of the camel milks, they come from somewhere outside Nairobi, like Namanga, which is the border between Kenya and Tanzania. So they took hours to arrive to Nairobi. So you have to wait it, and you have to give that, privilege of waiting the camel milk to come, and then you order it, and maybe a motorbike will bring it to your house. So it will take a time for you to get daily. It's not something you go to the shop next to you and you get it. It's not like that way.
Do you remember the first time when you tasted this milk?
First of all, my family, we're kind of agro-pastoralists, so we lived a lifestyle that revolved around both farming and herding. And growing up, the three sweet milks, camel, cow, and goat, were always part of our daily life. But camel held a special place. It's funny, people often ask me when I first tried camel milk, but honestly, I can't remember a specific moment. It wasn't a special occasion or something new to try. It was just always there, part of my life from the very beginning. It was what we drank every day. And even as I have grown older, that deep connection to camel and what it represents, nourishment, resilience, tradition, has always stayed with me.
I have never tasted the milk. Could you give us an idea of how it tastes?
It is sweet. It has somewhat earthy flavor. So I cannot put into words deeply because I'm a daily consumer.
Okay, so I have tasted goat milk, and it has an aftertaste. Smells goaty. If you know what a goat smells like, the milk smells.
Yes.
It smells something similar to that. Is it that much different, the camel milk to the goat milk?
It's different because camel milk is a way lighter than goat milk and cow milk. It's somehow between cow milk and water. It's not that strong.
So how much do you consume in a day?
Honestly, how much camel milk I drink daily depends on how much I can get and where I am. But if I had to choose, I would take camel milk over almost everything, even food. It has just this amazing taste and energy that really sticks with you.
Is it affordable? And in Kenya, where we are and where you live now, how much
I would say cost? A little bottle of camel milk costs about 200 shillings, like 1 liter, $1.6.
So it is affordable, you feel?
It is,
most people would be able to
it
pay
is
for it.
affordable, yeah.
Okay, but also in a city like Nairobi, we do not have camels around. I have seen very few though. Most are found hundreds of kilometers away in the northeast part of Kenya and Somalia specifically.
Yes.
It has the highest population of camels
Yeah,
in the world.
In the world, yeah.
So where do you source this milk if you're living in Nairobi?
Mostly, camel milk currently in Nairobi, they come from Namanga. So there are a lot of Somali camel herders.
That's towards the border with
Tanzania.
Tanzania, yes.
Yes, so there are a lot of camel owners, Somali camel owners, who are there. Then they export the camel milk to Nairobi. So it takes like 2 or 3 hours daily for the fresh camel milk to come from Namanga to Nairobi. And there are also some camel milk that are coming from northeastern part of Kenya, from Garissa, from places close to Garissa also.
When I told someone I was going to do this interview today, they asked me just how much milk can a camel produce in a day?
It depends on what camel consumes and the weather and the season. So if there is a green area or there is a good area for the camel, a grassy field for the camel, then camel may produce 2 to 7 liters a day. The difference between camel and cows in this is after 1 hour you can milk the camel again. It depends on what camel eats and the area that camel is staying and the season.
What are the nutritional benefits of this milk and how does that compare to a cow's milk?
Camel milk is good for everyone, I think. It has more vitamins than cow's milk, which helps you keep healthy. It's also easier to digest because it has less lactose. So people who have trouble with regular milk usually do better with camel milk. It gives you energy and feels lighter on the stomach. Overall, it's just a healthy option compared to cow's milk.
Focus on Africa was produced by Tom Kavanagh in London, Blessing Aderoba in Lagos, and Richard Kagoe here in Nairobi. Paul Bachibinga was a senior producer, and Chris Kuzaris, the technical producer. Our editors are Andre Lombard and Alice Mudengi. I'm Charles Gitonga. Thanks for listening.
Talk radio.
I listen to a lot of talk radio.
95.1 FM.
Tune in for a journey beyond the ordinary.
Fasten your seatbelt.
We are not just a station, we are the station. Today, 95.1 FM, the voice of the people.
Packing all my things for the summer. Lying on my bed, it's a bummer 'cause I didn't call when I got your number, but I liked you a lot. Slipping on my dress and saw filters. Everybody said you're a killer, but I couldn't stop the way I was feeling the day your record dropped. The day I saw your white Mustang. Your white Mustang. The day I saw your white Mustang. Your white Mustang. Caught up in my dreams and forgetting I've been acting like again 'cause you held me in your arms just a little too tight. That's what I thought. Summer's meant for loving and leaving. I was such a fool for believing that you could change all the ways you've been living, but you just couldn't stop. The day I saw your Mustang, your Mustang, your Mustang, your Mustang. Let it out, and the sound, and you again, you're gonna hear.
They say the holy water's watered down, and this town's lost its faith. Our colors will fade eventually, so if our time is running out,